We'd like to welcome you to our meeting and ask, first of all, we'll call our meeting to order, the December 14th meeting of the Board of Education, and I would ask if you would please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I would like to welcome all of you to our meeting, and as I try to do each time, remind you that we do videotape our meetings, and if you would like to be on video, just turn around and wave at the cameras. They're right behind you here, so we can record your presence here, and you can be on TV. So our first order of business is to adopt our agenda for this evening, so I would entertain a motion to that effect.
I move to approve the agenda as presented this evening.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Do we have any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And our Superintendents Report is next up. Dr. Carpenter.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, board members, does that not make us excited to see these young people? Let's give them another round of applause.
Yay.
In my first, give or take 6 months, I have not been in all classrooms across the district, but I have had the honor of stepping into Mr. Morales' classroom one day, and we spent a little time, and I only planned to stay for about 2 minutes. And I literally got engulfed in it, and I think it went about at least 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe he was saying, get him out of here. But I was just so excited to see the work that he was doing with these young people. You make me proud, sir. Give him a round of applause.
Very good.
We'll move into the superintendent's report, and it'll be brief as we try and move quickly through the report. One of the most exciting things that we have to look forward to in our district, and I do want our folks in attendance to mark your calendars for January 9th. The International Relations Council networking event will be held at the new MIC campus. And if you don't know about that event, it's an event in which we really showcase our international studies programs offered through Summit Tech and STA, and it's in partnership with the good folks from UCM. And of course, we have Dr. Ambrose and Dr. Hogue in the audience this evening. And you'll get a chance to do some food sampling, talking to some of our kids about their special projects, and learning more about the countries from whence they come as they've made their way here to be with us. So that's super exciting, and I want you to mark your calendars for January 9th, and that time block is between 4 and 6 p.m. Mike McGurk, he is one of our esteemed athletic directors here at Lee's Summit North, and we were proud to find out that he has been named a National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association Service Award winner. This is a national award that's given to a handful of athletic directors from across our country. So if you see Dr. McGurk, please give him some thanks. I mean, he makes our district proud. He's been with us for a while, since 2013. He began his career in Virginia, spent about 16 years there in various schools, and he's worked at Lee's Summit North High School and spent about 5 years as the director at Jefferson High School. Wealth of experience. He was nominated, went through a rigorous process, and he's one of a handful in our country. If you haven't tuned in yet, board members, to our Equity Minute, we're putting those forth every month. And we have our second one now, and it's Miss Rachel McBride. Rachel McBride is a reading specialist at Westview Elementary School, and her equity moment is really something to see. So if you get an opportunity to watch that, we're intentional in terms of it being a minute, 1 minute. And we believe that we can hold our attention for 1 minute and really learn about the good work going on across our district in the area of equity. Board candidate filing. We're getting to that time. We're getting to that point in the year where it's time for our board candidates to begin filing for the new year. And that will begin on December 19th at 8 a.m. here in our offices, and it'll close on January 16th at 5 p.m. There are 2 positions available for our school board, and those are 3-year terms. In an effort to be brief, Mr. President, board members, that concludes my report.
Well, thank you, Dr. Carpenter. The next portion of our agenda is our presentations, and we're going to start with presentation of our strolling strings.
I think we've kind of already honored these young folks, but let's again give them a round of applause and thank them for their time here with us. They make me extremely proud, and I'm sure they warmed your heart as we move into this holiday season. And they remind us of the reason we do exactly what we do every single day. We also have Rick McDowell, President White, who should be here, but I know that there may be. He made it. Oh, he told us about a conflict, but he made it. Come on up, Mr. McDowell, and we'll have our presentation from the Economic Development Council.
I made it. I was fortunate enough to be with the City Council earlier tonight, so doing a presentation with them. Quite honestly, they were running late, and I didn't get to do that presentation, so I will see them next month. Well, I am Rick McDowell. I don't know if there's okay, there we go. I am the president and CEO of the Lee Summit Economic Development Council. What I'm here to do is just kind of give you an overview of what we've done over the last year. We have done this in the past, just come before you and tell you what we're doing, what we plan on doing in the future, and talk about our partnership and what we do with you guys. I am open to questions. Yes. I'm going to try to keep this brief, but willing to answer anything you may have. Those of you that don't know, we are a public-private partnership. We are, and I've got our mission here, right here on the screen. But really, in small, brief sentences, we are here to create jobs and capital investment in our community, and that can be by attraction. It can be talking to our existing businesses and helping them expand, or whatever means we may do it. And it's also entrepreneurship, and we're starting to get into that, and you'll hear more about that as we move forward. That's our mission, if you will. Let me tell you a little bit about what we've been doing. You'll see on the screen some numbers. I will tell you the last year has been really very critical for us because I have got a full staff now. So we've been able to get out and be proactive instead of reactive. And I've got a young lady that's going out and making calls, and you can see the numbers here. We're actually working on 45 potential new projects over the last year. You can see the breakdown. Manufacturing versus data centers, office, and all of these things. These are things that we're trying to bring here and also expand here locally. So with all of this being done, we're seeing new growth and opportunities. I'm excited about our opportunities here as much as anything I've seen in any community. I've been doing this for a long time, 30 years to be exact, as an economic developer, and this is probably the biggest opportunity I've seen in any one community over the years. One other thing I will tell you, what's in this project, and some of you have heard me tell this publicly, and everybody in the world's heard about the Amazon project. We are part of that Amazon project. Kansas City submitted 6 sites. We are one of the 6 sites. Now, I will also tell you, there were 258 other cities that submitted projects. There was only 58 that were to do it, and there was additional 200 cities that put their name in. So we are part of that project. We won't know anything. They're going to be narrowing it down. So it's going to take another 3 to 4 months before we hear anything. But just so you know, we're very proud that we were put on Kansas City's list. They had 64 sites in Kansas City, narrowed it down to 6, and we were one of the 6. So we felt, if nothing else, we had an accomplishment because everyone in the city was looking at these sites. The professionals were looking at these sites and see what was the best. So we had one of them. So we have something to be proud of there, if nothing else. Move forward here. Workforce development. Well, I will tell you about that. Everybody hears that's a key word. If you understand what that is basically where are we going to get our workforce of the future and where our current workforce is. We are working on that extremely hard right now. We're working on it with our school system as you as partners, but we're also looking with our existing employees and employers. And we're trying to help them connect them with how are they going to currently serve their existing base, but also where the workforce of the future is. And we see that partnership here with the school system. And we will continue that. I will tell you, From what I've seen over the last year, I've been here 3.5 years. This is the strongest I've seen our partnership with the school system in the last year. We work constantly with folks throughout this here today, but also with other members of the school. It is something I'm extremely proud of what we're able to do and accomplish as a team. I should also mention, I mentioned the one young lady, Jessica Hamilton has been, is a new staff person for us. I was able to bring her in, and she's had experience doing it in other areas. Jessica is on the road constantly, and when I say on the road, she's primarily doing it here locally. She's going to business. She's made over about 100 calls on companies and talking to them about their opportunities and what's there and what's available. So again, this is things that we're being proactive and not reactive with. You'll see on the next slide our interactions. I'm not going to name all these. This is for you guys to look at, but basically, I want to point out a couple things. We are part of the strategic planning process of the partnership, of the apprenticeships. We think that's extremely important for the student base and for getting our workforce of the future prepared. The more we can get folks prepared, ready to go in the workforce, the better we will be, and the more attractive we are to new employers and existing employers. In addition, I think that we think it's important. This is something that's new that I've not seen done. You're aware there's a National Manufacturing Day. Well, this year we were able to put that together here. We had 3 locations that participated, and we had numerous students. And that is something we're going to continue and feel very strong about. Our employers were extremely excited about that, and we will continue to do that and also work with you as partners on doing these things. Next slide. There's some other things that we've been doing. You'll look at this top thing that we're talking about as far as introductions. You can see the type of diversity we're trying to do with companies. We're looking at computer programming. We're looking at biomedical. We're looking at manufacturing. We're looking at international business. So we want to bring our students and our workforce of the future into this, and we will continue to, again, work with you folks on that. One thing that I think that's been very helpful for us is you look at the one I have a double star on, where we've created an educator resource page. This is something that we want our local employers to be aware of, that what's available to them for training purposes, student base, and how they can get involved. We are out there doing that every day, trying to get our employers to be involved with what may be available to them. Most of them aren't even aware of that. So we're probably being a part of what, your advocate, if you will, as a school system. And we want to continue that as a partnership also. Here's a workforce success in the next one. I will tell you, this is my next slide. This is interesting. Any of the students that might have done this is kind of interesting. Ultrax Aerospace. I will tell you, 3 years ago, I didn't even know who they were. They're a company here that's based here. What they do is they take what were military aircraft and how they convert it into private aircraft. They currently have a Chinook helicopter and a Black Hawk helicopter here. The students during the manufacturing day were able to get in and see how they operate and see how they function. This is a very unique opportunity here. These folks now are extremely excited. You will see some of the things they've done. They've already hired 2 MIC interns. They have hired other folks to bring in. They brought in the students for apprenticeships. This is a company that's on the move that we're going to continue to work with. They've already purchased a new manufacturing facility here. So they now will have 2 facilities they're doing this with. So these are just opportunities that we see that we want to continue to foster and help grow in this area. Again, with you guys as a partner. My next slide is just maybe some of the partners we collaborate with. You folks have seen this. We work with all of these folks and continue. Everything that we do is through a partnership, and we want to make sure that everyone is part of that partnership and understands. Again, I did this last slide just talking about some of the things you as one of our major investors are key to our facility. Dr. Carpenter is on our executive board and also on our board of directors. He and I meet regularly, at least quarterly, if not more. We talk on the phone probably more times than we care to at times, but you guys are a big part of what we do. And I was talking to some other folks earlier at another event, and I basically said, we get asked from the outside resources, what makes you different? What makes Lee Suffolk different than anyone else? Everyone's got a building, everyone has land, people have workforce, and they have great quality of life issues. The one thing that makes us different is our school system. No one else has a school system like this. It is a selling point for us. It is the key point that I make sure that I point out to these folks is what's available here. And that is the biggest force. The number one issue in economic development and growth and business growth right now is workforce. And if you can show you can help them and benefit them, then you'll see great gains from that. Okay, I am open for questions. I don't want to take too much of your time. Any questions of the group, please? Wow.
It looked like it, Rick. You did a great job.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
The only thing that I would say is I know our students are standing and they're a little uncomfortable, and we're going to create an opportunity for them to be dismissed. But I thought it was important, since we have a captured audience, to have students and families here to really see the work going on in our community around workforce development. Because these young folks are going to be the workforce in a few short years. So really, really looking at those opportunities we present to them, one of which is further down the agenda this evening, but seeing that there's a concentrated effort in our community to make certain that not only our students have high-quality jobs, but many of which they can obtain right here in Lee Summit, and that's exciting. So I wanted you all to hear it, and maybe we're going to get you out of here in a second. President White.
Yes, we'd like to give an opportunity here for our students to be dismissed if they would like. So it's a great place for those of you who are hanging around for your kids to take your kids, and if you would like to, you're certainly welcome to stay.
Thank you, parents, for coming tonight as well.
Jackie?
I just wanted to ask Rick a question now that he's gotten away from the rostrum here.
Yes.
I did know about National Manufacturing Day.
I knew you did.
Okay. I do want to say that I think it would be valuable to have an ongoing dialogue, maybe with the approval of the board president and others here on the dais, that maybe you can come back and talk a little bit more in depth from time to time on your strategic plan and what we can do to either be, a part of some of the development of those priorities. I know you have Dr. Carpenter involved, but, many of us, have that interest in business and the success of businesses here. So we gladly, as board members, would love to be partners.
Yeah, and I will say I will welcome that as we go forward. We will continue that. I have absolutely no problem doing this. And as I said, I go quarterly to see the school board. To see the city council and do this. Something like that. I mean, we can schedule those things, but I think just basically getting you involved. As I said, this is the biggest, most involvement I've seen over the years since I've been here. I want to continue that. So, Jack, I'm open to do that. So, okay. Thank you. Other questions at all? Great. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I might have one other question. When you talk to potential clients, and school district comes up, and there are and many of these I know because we've been working on this economic for years. Mm-hmm. What outside sources, outside people who are coming in and looking at our community, what's a common thread that you hear from them, whether it be about the schools, the parks, the city? What is there a common thread once they see what Lee Summit's all about? Yeah.
My goal is to get them here from the outside in, and I'm trying to get them here by any means that I can. What I'm seeing, quality of life and workforce. Those are the top things. For workforce being number one, two being the quality of life. And when I say quality of life, that means exactly that. What kind of schools? Where are my kids going? Where's my spouse going to work? Or where's my family going to be entertained? And what are the things we can do? So we put that on perspective. And let me give you I'll give you an example. We had a project, and I'll get into the details of it, but basically, the only thing they wanted to hear was they wanted to know about our education system. And that's the only thing they did. We didn't show them real estate. We didn't show them housing. We didn't show them our downtown. They wanted to meet only regarding education. And so what we did is we brought in our various partners and players to that. We told them about STA. We told them about MIC. And I should tell you what the jobs they were looking for. They were looking for 300 jobs. It's going to be a shared service. What a shared service is they had operations on the East Coast, the West Coast, and in Canada. Instead of having multiple IT, accounting, and HR in each of those locations, they were going to share them into one location. and electronically. Now the age of electronics, they were going to do that. These were going to be 300 jobs at $65,000 average jobs. So they wanted to know, where were we going to get our workforce? How are we going to educate our current workforce that we may have? And where am I going to get my workforce in the future? And all we did was talk about that. We spent 2.5 hours. Dr. Ponison was a part of that. What we did that was probably key as anything else is we had our students speak to them. And our students came in and told them what they were getting. And unfortunately, the project, we just found out, and I just told a few other folks that the project died and it didn't go anywhere else. They just weren't able to do the project right now. But what I was told is that we were the key location in Kansas City. So that sold them. They were key on what we were looking for, but that is the primary purpose. What we see is the workforce and the quality of life, primary. Then you get into the other things they all need, raw materials, transportation, other things. But those are constantly the things that we talk about.
Thank you.
You bet. Other questions?
I think we're good this time.
All right, thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry for being a little late.
Linda, do we have any comments from the public?
We do have one comment from Marian Zajic.
Good evening. My name is Marian Zajic. I have been a business owner in Lee Summit area for probably the past, 15 years, 16 years now, and been in business for myself for the past 30 plus years. I'm in childcare. I had a childcare facility on Jefferson. I am very concerned about children. Children are my focus. With that being said, I am now very concerned about the innovation track. This, in my opinion, has not completed its due diligence. It's being rushed to approval without the vetting of all the costs. I have been forward and backward on this for the last month, because the last month is the only time that I have heard of this. It has been said that it's been going on since June or July. Where has it been? Nobody that I know had heard of it. And all of a sudden, it's here and it's ready for a vote. Do you know, are there funds to support some of our costs? Has that been vetted? Have we looked into anything like that? Does this overlap with the programs that we already have for our credit hours? Why would we do dual purpose at a cost of anywhere from $1 million, that's where it started, to $625,000, and now we're down to $350,000 or close to $400,000? I'm sorry. The numbers aren't there. And then I hear comments such as, well, we will pull together a meeting of MCC staff and our counselors, and we can stand the program on its feet this year. Does that sound like due diligence has done and this program is up and ready to go? I don't think so. Now, I'm not an educator. I'm not a college degreed person. But I have run a business. And I don't feel like everyone needs a college degree. Some people want to go to trade schools. College isn't the place for everyone. That being said, I have no objection to people wanting to go to college. It's a marvelous tool. I have 3 grandsons that have gone through college and have their master's degree. Do they have jobs that support their college education? No. They came out of college and took what I would consider menial jobs with a college degree. I'm going to hurry up here because I think time is on me. Like I said, I've been all over the board with this. I've been angry. I've been distraught. I've lost sleep. I'm concerned. Secondary staff wasn't even informed of this until this fall, November to be exact. It's still fall. I say again, why the rush? Why is it necessary to process this project at an increased rate? We have heard business leaders are on board with this. This is another thought. If this is true, why are they not willing to have their names linked to it? If they support it, why are they not proud to step up and be recognized? Who are they? This is suspect in my mind. The cost for the projects, as we have all heard, is revised, revised, revised. What is the number? Many of the stats shown are at one point being shown as 15 hours of credit, and then in another point they're being shown as a 30-hour credit. The numbers don't match. You either go 30 hours all the way or you go 15 hours all the way. Those numbers don't wash. Will the R7 district be credited with any monies from students' expense not being in class? Do we know? Has it been discovered? Has it been looked at? What if the student drops his or her class? Will there be a collection of fees from that student? What if the student fails a class? Is there a refund protocol? I have so many questions I couldn't even begin to cover this in 3 minutes. Why are we paying a full-time employee at the rate of $79,794 a year when we have 10+ interventions already in place? We don't even know. We might have 20 students that take this up, and we're going to have an $80,000 employee. That doesn't make sense to me. These are only a few of the questions brought to mind. I, as a taxpayer, would like to have all these ducks in a row before it's implemented. I don't think it's a bad program. As you know, there has been a level of trust with a black mark between the citizens and the Board of Education. I see this as a negative step on your part. When the Board of Education doesn't communicate in a timely manner, there is not time for these matters to be discussed and for important questions to be asked. Again, I am suspect. What is the rush? I ask that this proposal be tabled until the homework is done. I spent 30 years plus in business myself, and there was at no time in my career that monies would have passed hands with this sketch of numbers that we have seen. It is not acceptable. Again, as a tax-paying citizen, I am totally in favor of our education system, but not with a bunch of maybes. This being the case, I would suggest again that this be tabled until all the work is finished and in the forefront. Thank you.
Thank you. The next portion of our agenda is our board reports of meetings attended. So we'll move to that, and we'll start down on the other end of the dais with Jackie.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm able to report in the role of the key contact on government relations. I've had the opportunity to meet with someone who is managing the North Kansas City School District Government Relations Program and talk through what their agenda for 2018 looks like. And I will note that I think all of us here on the board were in attendance for the Cooperating School Districts Legislative Dinner, and we had a great turnout. We were particularly pleased to be able to have join us locally Senator-elect Mike Searpoy, as well as Education Vice Chair Rebecca Raber that evening. And we really appreciated their engagement and joining us in conversation that evening. I've been in touch with the Missouri Chamber on some of their agenda regarding education for 2018, and was able to visit a bit with some of the folks who are leading committees with the National Conference of State Legislatures, and it's their Education and Workforce Committee. So really helpful to me as I can return here to the district and offer you guys some insights from a little broader perspective. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jackie. Mr. Smith.
On December 11th, the CAC Steering Committee met to prepare for our January 16th meeting, and that will be held at the Great Beginnings Early Childhood Center. Actually, that's all really at this time. There have been no TIF meetings that have been scheduled in the city at this time.
Phyllis?
Yesterday, we had our meeting with the Business Roundtable. It took place at Missouri Innovation Campus. We had a pretty full agenda. The first item on the agenda was the presentation of the innovation track. Dr. Collier and Dr. Sharp were on hand and did an outstanding job presenting that. Dr. Carpenter was there as well as I recognize our guest that we have with us tonight. Dr. Nooks was there, Dr. Ambrose was there, and it was a really great meeting. There were lots of questions, lots of support, lots of questions like you heard tonight, needing more answers. Did have people say afterwards that they felt like it was really informative and that they felt like they got a lot of answers that they might have had questions too, and I wish Marion could have been there yesterday. I think she would have had a lot of her questions answered. And it was an outstanding meeting. It really was. I felt like most, if not all, of the bases were covered, and met with some businessmen afterwards and women, and even had an HR director say, and I meant to say this to Rick McDowell, that she works in HR in placing people in jobs all over, and she said that everyone wants someone that graduated from Lee Summit because the education that's going on down here is great. We create a very, very strong workforce out there, and it was a positive meeting. I've entertained a lot of questions, pro and con, on the innovation track, and it's been very good discussion. I've really enjoyed engaging in the community with this. It's been very positive, even through some the ones that have lots of questions, like myself had lots of questions, but got them answered. So it was a good meeting. It really was. It was a great meeting, and that's pretty much my duty for this month, besides lots of reading.
Kim?
All right. I'm reporting on the Lee Summit Educational Foundation. The foundation is gearing up for the Taste of Lee Summit, scheduled for Saturday, March the 3rd. Please mark that date on all of your calendars and plan to attend this fun community event for the benefit of all of our students. Tickets will go on sale on January 2nd, and this will be the celebration of the foundation's 25th birthday. So we are going to have a birthday theme. It's going to be lots of fun. Beginning on January 8th, Cheryl Frankie's assistant, some of you may know her, Sarah Hartman, she will be leaving the foundation to stay home with their daughter. And we have hired Jordan Frazier Newman to replace Sarah. Jordan is a 2007 Lee Summit West alumni. And we are alum, and we welcome her to the foundation and the Lee Summit LSR7 family. So that's what's happening with the foundation. Thanks.
Adam?
Other than finance, none of my committees met this month, so we'll talk shortly.
Julie?
You. All right, so Lee Summit Cares wants to invite all of you, and I hope you all got your invitation to the Mayor's Character Breakfast. It will be the last one for our Mayor, Randy Rhodes, so that'll be kind of sad. But it is January 25th at 7 o'clock at the Pavilion, and Ryan Lefevre will be speaking, so he'll be really good. And we really encourage you to come. It's very inspirational. So I think that's it. Thank you.
And aside from the Business Roundtable, which I attended with Phyllis, we have our regular monthly meeting with Dr. Carpenter. And those are our board reports for this time. At this point, we are ready for our finance report.
Go right ahead. I was a little negligent that in saying that the Finance Committee did meet yesterday morning, and that's why we were not at the business, able to be at the Business Roundtable. But yesterday, I will just go down through these things. Our investments through November total approximately $66.7 million. Our revenue and expense report, operating revenues are slightly less percentage-wise when compared to the prior year due to the timing of receipt of revenues, specifically Prop C sales tax and STA tuition. In the Capital Projects Fund, revenues are less than the prior year due to the fact that the district has not yet collected federal VTAC funds. Expenses are comparable percentage-wise to the prior school year and within expected budget estimates. Other finance issues that we discussed: the Comprehensive Facility Master Plan Consulting Service to assist in meeting the Board of Education's priority 2, a comprehensive master plan process has been initiated, which requires master planning consulting services. DL/Gould Evans is being recommended for approval following a competitive RFQ and an interview process completed by the CFMP core planning team. A scope of work, timeline, negotiated fee schedule, and contract will be initiated following the board action. And we're getting smaller here, I think. MIC change order number 16. Change order number 16 includes 3 owner-directed items required to complete the project. The net increase of change order 16 is $613.02, which falls within the project's budgeted resources. Construction and maintenance update. The Finance Committee reviewed the projects scheduled to be initiated in the following weeks in order for works to be bid, scheduled, and completed during summer 2018. The projects involve a number of capital improvements based on identified needs, including mechanical systems upgrade, flooring, paving, an intercom system upgrade at Trail Ridge, and high school tennis court resurfacing. The process to develop a resolution for the Woodland Sewer will also begin. Long-range capital improvement plans will be shared with the Board of Education at a March work session. In addition, Dr. Amy Gates shared the timeline and plans for replacement of an infrastructure to support wireless connectivity, including access points and local area networks, also scheduled for the summer of 2018. This work will be paid from a combination of federal and capital project fund resources. Had a benefit update. A number of routine action items are included on the December agenda for benefit-related plan changes involving the district's cafeteria plan, HRA plan, and the Care Here contract. We do have a couple motions that will need to be made.
Thank you. Go ahead.
6.02, I move to approve the transfer of $2,691,775.65 from the general fund to the special revenue fund.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to transfer funds from the general fund to the special revenue fund. Any questions on that motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you.
One other, 6.03, I move to approve the treasurer's report and payment of the bills.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report and payment of the bills. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're ready to move to the next part of our agenda, item 7, which are items in our consent agenda. As always, to explain that we are able to move items into our consent agenda since they have been handled through our vetting process and the board has seen these items. These are generally considered to be routine expenditure items that we can dispose of all in one motion. So we'll take a look at that, and I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented this evening. These would be items 7.01 through 7.10.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I believe we have a few comments and/or discussion points. Adam?
Sure. On the legislative platform, I think, was this the one we took off last month? So did we end up making changes to it? I apologize if I don't see the markups, but if you could summarize maybe real quick.
So what we did is we took some feedback from one of your colleagues around the board, and we really built the priorities out a little bit. I think the primary thing you'll notice is kind of an introductory piece that talks about our district and also really pointing more attention to some key priorities, and that's pretty much it. I think we blended two very good documents together, tying in a lot of what we saw in MSBA's priorities as well. So I think we do have a stronger document, and I want to thank Board Member Clark for her support in terms of helping to get this together. One thing you'll notice that was the latest add to the document, and it's based on our most recent conversations as a district. And if you'll notice, support for legislation to expand the state's A+ program to include funding for tuition for high school students earning qualifying dual college credit during their high school years. We believe that that's important legislation. It's something that you always hear about, but it never goes through. So this is something that we want to put our legislative efforts behind this year.
Thanks. Thank you.
Other comments or questions on the consent agenda? And Jackie, thank you so much for your work on that. Hearing none, then we have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Well, finally, on item 8, we don't have anything. And for those of you who don't know why that's funny or interesting, we've been working for, I don't know what, about a year to try to pull those items on that part of the consent agenda down to nothing, because those are items that we would consider to be emergency items that have to be paid before the board actually meets and can approve them. So when we meet, we usually ratify those documents instead of approving them, because they were things that needed to be executed before we could make that move. And our goal is to not have any of those. Although we know over time that that's just not going to happen. There's going to be an electric bill or something that comes up that has to be paid before we can meet, and we don't want the lights to be turned off across the district. That would not be good for any of us. So we'll go ahead and take care of those, and then the board ratifies those as it moves forward with its meeting. So the next item in our agenda is the second part of our consent agenda, and these are contracts over $5,000 that the board has had a chance to look at, that we have had, that staff has presented to us either physically or through our board documents sessions that we've had in the last month. So I will accept a motion on items 9.
I move that the board approve new contracts over $5,000 as presented in consent agenda items 9.02 through 9.05.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions on the second consent agenda items? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, item 10 are our items for decision, and these are items that will be presented to us by our staff as we move through each one of these items. The first one is our calendar for the school year.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, board members, Dr. Miller has led us through the calendar process with the team, and at this time we have a strong recommendation for the 18-19 school year, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Dr. Carpenter. Definitely appreciate that. We have a team comprised of approximately 40 members. Of those 40 members, 4 are parents from various levels, and then 36 members from every department, building, etc. It's a pretty complicated situation when you start looking at calendars, because everyone has their own suggestions. But if you look, for the most part, this calendar really mirrors our current school year calendar. If I were to make the board aware, which I feel like I should with my due diligence of two potential issues for next year, we're to the point where we're going to roll our calendar back. And if you look at this, you can see that our start date for the 18-19 school year is August the 15th, and our team talked about that at length, but did not feel like that this was the year to roll it back, that we should probably wait one more year. So that's something to be thinking about when you look at the 19-20 year. We'll probably roll the start of school back a week. I would also make note that the Missouri High School Athletic Activities Association for the 18-19 school year did actually roll back when two-a-days or fall practices can start. And we had some conversation with Rich Burchard and our athletic directors on that. We involved them also. So athletic practices and activity practices are not able to start until August the 6th for this school year. Neither one of those things necessarily affect our calendar for this year, but I want to do my due diligence to let you know about probably what's going to be coming the following year, that we'll probably look at moving the start of school back a week. Other than that, our professional development days, our focus on trying to maintain some continuity with our college semester holds true as always. It's interesting, our number of snow days, we actually have tracked that back. I've got that on calendar till 1995. Continues to become less and less. If you look over the past 5 years, we've averaged 3 snow days. And so I think that's important to remember. And the differentiation between first semester and second semester on the number of attendance hours is primarily built upon the fact that we have a lot of testing that occurs second semester that takes away from curriculum and instruction, which really balances those 2 semesters. So a lot of thought went into the process. We had a very good team, and at this time I'd be more than happy to entertain any questions by the board.
Well, let's get a motion on the table, please.
I move that the Board of Education approve the 2018-19 school calendar as presented this evening.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And Kim, you had a question and or comment.
Oh, yeah. Before you stated about moving the calendar back, Dr. Miller, I was going to ask you that question, is why are we starting so early? It seems like every year it keeps moving up and up. So I'm glad to hear that you're entertaining the thought of pulling that back a week.
Absolutely. For those of us who've been in the district a number of years, literally about every 7 or 8 years, you naturally have to roll the calendar back just because, once again, the calendar itself moves up a day. So, by all means, that was a topic of conversation. Appreciate the question.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing, Jeff, but I was going to ask, what do you mean when you say back? Because I'm confused on calendars. What's forward? I've set my clock the wrong way every year. It never fails.
I appreciate that, Mr. White. Let me clarify my language a little bit. If you look, the start of school naturally through the calendar progression moves up. It's earlier and earlier.
Yes.
Every August. The conversation that we had at some point, and we really got into that debate whether it should be this year or not, but ended up thinking that it probably would best serve our kids for it to be next year, not this year, for a number of reasons, is we're going to move the start of school later in August by approximately 1 week.
Thank you.
I appreciate the clarification.
That helps the oldest person up here understand what's going on. So.
Yes, sir.
And Dr. Miller, when I heard you say that before, I thought you meant the other way. Yeah, so I was totally mixed up.
Well, I definitely needed to clarify then. I apologize.
So Dr. Miller, make sure I understood the calendar, but
Second oldest guy up here.
Yeah, I am, and proud of it. For athletic purposes, just in
Yes,
my
sir.
mind, back in the old days, it was like around August 15th when the two-a-days and those kind of things. So what are you saying, because of the start of the calendar now, we'll actually still be playing games and so forth before school actually starts?
No, sir.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think so, but when can they start practice, I guess? This
August the 6th, they will be able to start practice. And if you remember, students are mandated through the Missouri State High School Athletic Association to have 14 days of practicing before they can participate in any type of event. Now, they may be able to have jamborees and non-sponsored MISHA events with other high schools, etc., but they will not be able to have a first competitive Misha-sponsored event until 14 days.
I thought, but I just wanted to check, and make sure I understood what that was.
Appreciate it. Great questions.
Any other questions and/or comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, the motion carries. Okay, our next portion is to approve the consulting services for the Comprehensive Facility Master Plan.
Yes, I want to thank Dr. Hedrick for her work in beginning her leadership around the Comprehensive Facilities Master Planning team. We have a team made up of internal and external stakeholders, and they really got in started with their work. I had the opportunity to spend some time with them during their first meeting. Since then, they've been involved in a very, very intimate interview process, and I think we have a recommendation, Dr. Hedrick.
Yes, we do. Thank you very much. I'm just going to highlight a couple of key points that are provided in your background information. We did do a completed competitive RFQ process. We had 6 responses from both local and one national company submitted a proposal. We went through a process to evaluate those proposals based on the criteria that we asked them to prepare their proposals, and we narrowed our selection for an interview down to 3 firms, 2 of those local, 1 national, and those we completed those interviews last Friday, December the 8th. I feel very lucky and fortunate that when we ask our community to volunteer to help us with this process, we had 120 some responses of volunteers, and we selected for our core planning team about 10 randomly from different schools in our district, from parents, grandparents, business owners. So we have a great group of people, and I will tell you, I feel very blessed to be working with them. Even after our first meeting, it felt like I'd known them for a long time. They were all took their tasks very seriously. They all did their homework to review the proposals ahead of time. They asked great questions during the interview process, which was a 6-hour event on a Friday, which speaks. They all showed up and were all very engaged the whole time. So I feel very fortunate to, and we should as a district, to see the support that's demonstrated for us. So we went through that process. The team unanimously, after the interviews were completed, is recommending DLR Group and Gould Evans. I will tell you that they prepared a wonderful presentation to us, and really they spent most of their interview time on 2 main things. The first was how we engage our community and get input and feedback on our facility planning process, and then the other thing is how our facilities support what happens in the classroom. So I think we have an opportunity here to prepare this plan that will serve the district for many years. So that's all the comments I'm going to make this evening, unless you have any questions. I'd be happy to try to answer those. And I will also say that Kyle Gurrell's been an instrumental part of helping with this process. Let me add one more thing. I apologize. Is that we have a meeting scheduled pending your approval tonight with DLR to hit the ground running next week in terms of developing a scope of work, timeline, and negotiating through the fees and the contract.
Okay, I will entertain a motion, please.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve DLR Group Gould Evans for the Comprehensive Facility Master Planning Consulting Services.
Second.
There's another part to that.
Let's do a redo. So I move that the board approve DLR Group Gould Evans for Comprehensive Master Planning Consulting Services contingent on a mutually acceptable negotiated fee and contract.
Second, yep, didn't see that.
Okay, second that motion. All righty, we have a motion on the table in a second. Do we have any discussion? Adam?
Refresh my memory. So we have the core planning team, and then what's the kind of next step? I think there's a broader group that'll be engaged. at some point, or is that a detail to be worked out with the
That's a
consulting
detail to
group?
be worked out, yes. I anticipate that we will expand that team, but that's going to be part of the things we'll be talking through with DLR next week in terms of that. And if that's the case, we will use our volunteers who've already submitted their interest to come up with that expanded team.
Okay, and I just gotta say, I mean, the size and the complexity of this project, I'm very excited and glad that we are getting someone to be dedicated to it, has experience with engaging the community and things like that, as opposed to trying to do this ourselves. So this is just gonna be a great start to a really big and complicated project.
It is, yes.
I can't speak to Gould Evans, but I do know from, again, past history, DLR in buildings and our plans and so forth have been very, very good to work with.
Okay, other questions or comments?
I feel compelled to just share with the board as a reminder that this is our priority number 2 work as we work to establish equitable learning spaces across the district. And as we really start to examine those issues around the quality of learning spaces, types of learning spaces, building capacities, and we just received our demographer's report, had a telephone conference with him this past Tuesday. So this is that significant work. And if you recall Dr. Hedrick's timeline, by October of next school term, we're going to come forward with some significant recommendations, I would imagine, based on the work of this team. Very, very important in terms of the long-term health of our district around facilities. So this is important work, and I want you to be aware. We'll keep you up to date on it. We'll let you know what's going on, but this is significant work that will be happening in our district.
Okay, with that, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, our next 10.03, the Innovation Track Dual Enrollment Option.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, board members, we've had 2 work sessions in which we've had significant discussions about the innovation track model as another opportunity or pathway for young people in our school district. And even as we listen to Rick McDowell today and know that Lee Summit is looked upon regionally as one of those hubs for workforce development, this is yet another opportunity. I think somewhere along the way, we listened to community, we listened to business leaders, we put together think tanks from 3 different entities, UCM and MCC, and we really went about this work as it relates to priority number 1. And we believe we've put forth an opportunity that can do what I've always heard was one of those pieces that was important to the district, and that's taking the MIC model and making it more scalable, or put another way, inviting more students into that opportunity. We have those highly specialized jobs that we know will be high skill, high wage jobs of the future, but we also know if we listen to Rick today, somebody wants to do HR, and that may take a business background to get started. And those opportunities are also out there, and we have not been as systemic as we might be able to be in accelerating those young people. And they make up the bulk of our students in this area. I want to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Collier and Dr. Sharp for their extensive leadership. We also had our 3 high school principals that were a part of that team that met extensively with our partners seated here on the front row. And we appreciate their work from both MCC and UCM. There's an investment coming from each of those entities, and we appreciate the educational ecosystem that continues to develop here in our community on behalf of boys and girls. So at this time, Mr. President, I'll recommend that the board approve Innovations Track as a dual enrollment option for LSR7 juniors and seniors effective fall 2018.
Thank you. We need a motion.
I move to approve the Innovation Track as a dual enrollment option for LSR7 juniors and seniors effective in the fall of 2018.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Julie?
Thank you. So my vote tonight is, it's been weighing heavily on my mind, and there's not a person up here that I wouldn't go to a movie with. Sharp may not be able to sit through the movie, but I would still like to try. But with that being said, my vote tonight will be, I guess, judged on, I just feel like it's moved too fast. I just heard about it less than a month ago. I wish that back in September, we could have said, hey, we don't know what we're going to call it, but we're working with UCM and MCC to do a little bit more. And I don't think there was enough collaboration between the teachers that know our kids. And I have there's still questions that aren't answered about cost, and I know we all feel good about it, but that's how my vote will be determined. So just wanted to say that.
Kim?
Yes, it's been weighing heavily on me too, because of all the key players in this room, whom I greatly respect, all of you. Since the board was introduced to the innovation track proposal on November 29th in a 30-minute work session, we had one more work session yesterday for 2 hours to try to digest all that information. Tonight we're being asked to vote, given the short time frame we've had to learn what we can on this proposal. The fact that many details are yet to be worked through, I find it very difficult to vote on this issue. As soon as the district article on the innovation track went out in the R7 Messenger last Friday, I sought to gather as much public input as possible on this track. I've had 52 emails and posts on my Facebook page. In addition, I counted 29 emails through the district email system. And I've also met with 2 groups of Lee Summit retired teachers, totaling 50 teachers. And I've listened to the conversations of our business leaders at the Business Roundtable this last Wednesday morning. What have I gleaned from all of this input? Number one, that this process is moving much too quickly and has not been well communicated, first to our teaching staff and second to our community. 2, that there are serious concerns about spending tax dollars for post-high school education. 3, that there are numerous details that have not been decided upon or worked through, including the final decision on $51.50 per credit hour with Longview Community College, the dual credit minimum GPA requirement for courses taught at our high schools is a 3.0, and yet the dual credit maximum or minimum GPA for this proposal at Longview Community College is a 2.5. And that we have no idea what the impact of introducing this track will have on our current dual enrollment classes, the A+ program, or our IB program. Is this another opportunity for our high school students? There's no doubt in my mind that it can provide our students who are motivated to succeed a great opportunity to earn up to a year of college credit before they graduate from high school. Our LSR7 leaders, as well as the representatives from MCC Longview and the University of Central Missouri, have worked diligently to pull this together, and I praise them for it. Thank you. We just need time to breathe and make sure we do this the right way so that we can achieve maximum success for all of the students in all of our programs. As one of our icons of innovation has said, Bill Gates, patience is a key element of success.
Other comments or questions?
I would like to chime in here on this discussion. Like Kim and Julie, and I believe I speak for all of the board members, this has weighed heavily on our minds because it is a big task when doing good things for our kids. And so I've heard about this. I've been on the board now 6 years. I knew when that MIC was instantly implemented and it was built that there would be tracks to follow. So this doesn't necessarily come as a shock to me, and it doesn't come as a surprise to me, because I knew that somewhere down the pipeline that we would be offering more choices for kids. I've fielded, like Kim and Julie, and I'm sure everybody else here, we have all been inundated with calls. In fact, I had a call as I was coming to the meeting here tonight. I was at Business Roundtable yesterday. I'm very active in the business community. And yes, there are people out there that have questions, like everyone does. But there are also a lot of businessmen and women out there saying this is a win-win. How can we not jump on this? How can we not do this? This is for our kids. Any taxpayer money spent for kids is money well spent. And there's no magic bag that this money is going to come out of. We have the best CFO in the I would put her up against anybody, and we have the funding for this. Is this going to affect other programs? I've also done a lot of talking to teachers, and I've also done a lot of talking to students, and I've also done a lot of talking to business owners. And I have to tell you, I've been like this too. But at the end of the day, we have kids out there in a certain class of kids, and I've seen them in the classroom, that need us, and they need opportunities. And I have a hard time when it comes to not jumping in there and doing what's right for our kids. I have to tell you, as a board member, I really truly respect the role that I play in this community. It is to listen. It is to listen. And then from there, make a decision based on what I believe the community charged me to do, was make a decision that I feel that's right. I feel like we received a ton of information. I will admit, the first night that you gave us information on the 29th, I was overwhelmed. I was excited. I remember looking at Jackie Clark going, "This is cool." And we looked at each other and smiled. I got so excited because I know people in our community, and I bet you some of them might be sitting in here and or at the dais. I know people that would fall into this class of the 2.5 student, the one that's on the free and reduced. I've seen kids. I taught high school. I owned a business for 28 years. I've worn both hats, and I'm now substituting in a sister district next door to us to still stay in touch with kids. And it is more obvious than ever as I walk in those buildings and I sit in those classrooms that there is a portion of kids that our needs are not being met. And it just makes me sad because my whole career, my whole life has been about kids. And so when this track came up, yeah, we could probably study it for another year or two. That doesn't help our kids. And when this opportunity came up, I studied it. I got some very tough phone calls. I got some phone calls that questioned me, that made me think, okay, is this right? So I was really questioned. I was thrown off my rocker a little bit. But at the end of the day, I came back and I kept hearing that voice inside that we have a certain need population of students in our community that need us. And I feel like that I have enough information to charge our incredible staff to make this happen for us. Because you didn't hire me. I'm not the one that's going to be out there doing this. I'm going to be the one that's supporting you. And there's going to be questions and stumbles probably along the way. But you know what? As a board, we're here to pick you up and to support you. Not interfere. Ask questions, yes, but not to interfere. And so I feel like that's my role as a board member. And I go back to the norms that were presented to us the day we took the oath. And I'm not a hired employee of this district who's going to sit there and make those decisions with you. You have to bring good stuff to us. And I really feel like you've brought great stuff to us. Are there questions? You betcha. I'm going to be looking forward to, like the rest of our board members, getting updates very, very regularly on what's happening, because I want to have accountability on this, because it does raise some questions. But at the end of the day, I had teachers call me today concerned that it's going to affect the IB program. It's not. We're going to attract a different student. Is it going to affect the AP students? No. This is another choice for kids. And I really think at the end of the day, it's about kids. We have the best teaching staff in the district. We have the best staff, and I just have to say, I'm all about this. I think it's a great, and I can't wait to hear more about it.
Adam?
Thanks, Bob. So I think a lot of, call them ideas or conceptions about the program floating out there, and I think in the Q&A and in our subsequent discussions, which not everyone has been exposed to, I think clears a lot of it up. And the number in particular was one that concerned me from, Marianne's comments earlier. I would like for us to be able to get that out there pretty quickly, and I know that's the plan, but just emphasizing that. And I guess my question would be, what are we really approving tonight? Because it's not each one of these details. I think we're approving conceptually that we're interested in doing this for our students. We have a good estimate of the cost, which is lower than I think some figures that are still out there. And I think we're providing direction to pursue this opportunity. I don't think the door is closed for us to continue to work through some of these finer points of the program. So I just deciding on something that's broader and more directional than every single one of these items that are in here. I just wanted to make that clear because frankly there are some things that I'd still like to keep discussing as we continue to refine and get the program tighter and tighter. So just appreciate where we are and look forward to, if it's approved this evening, look forward to having that communication back out to the community with additional detail.
Jackie?
But I think Dennis was ready to go. It's fine.
I too have had some sleepless time over this, primarily because I love this community. I love this school district. I love the staff that has been here and we will have in the future. But I also have had the opportunity to sit up here for about 6 months now. And that statement back there really hits home to me. And especially that each. And I see people out here in the audience that I had the opportunity to work with over the years, and maybe they'll disagree. I always tried to challenge my staff. And once in a while, I would tease them, but I meant it. I'd like for you to be, I like risk takers. I'd like to know what that risk is. Because then my job became to help that teacher develop that program or whatever it might be that they wanted to do. Did we make mistakes? Yeah. I don't think you get a good plan sometimes until you make a few mistakes. Now, if we were talking millions of dollars here, and I might, but we spend monies. Taxpayers' money buys all kinds of things. It isn't buy just textbooks and pay teachers' salaries. There's all kinds of other things that go into what supports this wonderful school district that we have. I have great faith in the people who have provided me with information. Yeah, I was a little taken back in, November 29th or whenever that was. I'm taken back, but maybe I should have known more, but I didn't. And I think we need to work to that a little bit better to do that. I think, we can continue. If we put it off, the questions that I hear out there and the things I hear out there, and I've been involved in elected positions before, sometimes if I don't get the answer that I want, it isn't going to change that person's perception. I was elected to represent the students the teachers, and the parents of this school district. And I just think this is a great opportunity for another step forward. Thank you.
Jackie?
I think before we take the vote this evening on this first item, I think for the benefit of those who would be watching this on video, we haven't had that some of the nuggets shared that we've heard that are supporting folks who are either going to vote in favor of this or even those who have concerns. And one of the things that I thought was particularly compelling yesterday was the data that you shared with us on the student interest. And I think the proposal, if I'm right on my ever-aging brain, we were talking about having maybe an initial tranche of students that were limited to 200. Dr. Collier, would you share with the group the level of interest that's been indicated in this program?
Sure, thank you. Happy to do so. So on Monday morning of this past week, we sent a survey out to those students that would otherwise be students that could qualify for this particular pathway. And so we sent the survey then to 2,265 students. The question asked of the students in that survey was this: would you be interested in spending part of your school day next year off campus as a junior or senior and go to Longview Community Campus to earn college credit at the same time you're earning high school credit at no cost or at a significantly reduced cost to you and your family as part of your high school schedule? From those students that were qualified to receive that particular survey, we had 621 responses. From those, 444 students, or 71.4% of the students, indicated yes, that they would want to participate. Of that group, we know that 12.4%, or 77 students, are of a free and reduced lunch status.
Thank you. I think that's very helpful for this conversation for all of our patrons and our students to know what their fellow students have responded, and the parents, as well as our teachers, of course. And then I would like to just kind of roll up the cost. I think a lot of the concerns that have been raised have been keyed off of the initial proposal and the work session discussion from the 29th. It's much like if you're looking at legislation, sometimes the first version of a bill, well, I'll say generally, the first version of a bill is not going to be the final version of the bill. It goes through various iterations through the process. And so that particular committee-type meeting afforded us the opportunity to, shall I say, pepper the staff with a variety of questions. And I want to note for the record that all the questions that we've posed are rolled up into a document, and they are available online, and they are accessible to anyone who is interested in seeing those questions. Again, knowing that the details are not all fleshed out at the staff level yet, our charge is for governance and direction to that staff. So I think it's important for the folks who will be viewing this broadcast, or for anyone reporting on it, to kind of hear what this looks like cost-wise in terms of the percent of our operating revenue that it would take at the latest version of this proposal, and also give us a comparison with the other tracks on a per-student basis, as you guys have enumerated. I'm pulling those out of the questions, but I think these are the salient issues that are before the folks that they've been raising in the communications that we have received.
Happy to do so. I will read from the remarks, the written response to the question that was submitted to us from board members associated with the revised cost from the November 29th work session. And so, given everything that's put before you for consideration, the estimated costs of the innovation track, inclusive of financially supporting students who would also take advantage of non-MCC dual enrollment options, and for the cost of IB exams, doing so for free and reduced eligible students is $396,402, which represents 0.16% of what would have been 2016-2017 actual total expenditures from our district budget. This is
Dr. Collier, just a second. I want to make sure that point is, I had a little trouble hearing. So it's less than 1% of total 2016-17 actual expenditures?
Yes, ma'am.
0.16?
Yes, ma'am, that's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
So relative to your second question, and Dr. Sharp can speak to this as well, also included in the packet on board docs is notation of district financial responsibility associated with student participation in other programs. So, for example, we have students, we have 88 students that take advantage of educational opportunities at Herndon. The district cost per student is $4,200, and annually total expense for that is $369,000. The board this past fall voted to, because the state is no longer funding, voted to fund ACT testing for our juniors. That's 1,573 students at a cost of $37 per student, at a district cost of $58,201 to afford them the opportunity to take that test, which is crucial for their entrance eligibility into colleges that they might otherwise be interested in. And then one final example, we have students that take advantage of educational opportunities at Cass. There's 19 students there. Per student, that's a $3,400 expense for a total district responsibility of $64,400.
Okay, and for those who may not be familiar with the Herndon program and the CAS program, could you just give a definition of what the Herndon program provides our students in career education opportunities? Oh, Dr. Sharp, I think maybe you want to respond.
Yes, ma'am. Herndon Career Center has several career pathways that our students can go to, whether it be automotive collision, automotive technology, cosmetology. They're specific. They have criminal justice. They have welding. They have all those specific. And then there's an IT component that they have out there as well. So they have a lot of chances in EMT. And so there's things out there that students can go. They can earn certifications as they go out there. So we do have 88 students that do attend that program as well.
So those aren't college-related programs. Those are more non-college programs that a student that just wouldn't feel comfortable going to college, that's their opportunity to prepare for career, correct?
A lot of those students, yes, ma'am, can earn what they call industry-related certifications, which are IRCs, or they can earn some type of certification through there. I know that Herndon specifically works to try to maybe offer some dual credit here or there specifically, but I can't speak specifically to what Cheryl has out there for dual credit, but there might be some opportunities on that. But most of those students earn certifications or IRCs or take a exam based on that.
Okay, and then the next one would be CAS. And so again, anybody listening that doesn't know what these programs are, I think it's important to define that we're
And CAS is another one where we have students that will work with agriculture, EMT, fire science, and other things that work out there. And we have a handful of district students, about 19, that go out there to be able to work through that because they offer something that's different than what STA, Herndon, and so there's another opportunity out there for CAS, for fire science, for agriculture, and some other specific things that they have as well. Different student.
Thank you.
I might also offer, if the board is open to it, I'd also like Dr. Sharp to clarify what the district currently pays for students related to the IB program. That has been a question that has come up. So if Dr. Sharp, would you like to clarify those expenses?
Yes, ma'am. One thing that, as Dr. Collier was reading through the list of in-kind expenses that we already have incurred, and we have so for several years to support the fiscal needs of our students as they work down the pathways that they choose. Our IB students now that are our diploma candidates, as we've had, we pay for their exams. And so if you're a diploma candidate, let's say this year we have 65 diploma candidates, so we will pay for those at about $864. So that'll go to $56,160 for them. Our IBCP students, which is our career candidates, which means those students take a class or a course at Summit Technology Academy or MIC, and they'll work there. Then they take 2 IB courses in their high schools up to their choice. So I don't want to get too far down in the specifics of that, but we do pay for those students. This year we'll have roughly 31, and that'll be at $12,100 on that.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And then because we've been talking a little bit about the work session on the 29th and the complexity of this issue, we also did some other business in that work session, and it was something, I think, well, it may not be for the veterans on the board, but certainly for the recently elected, those of us with the least service to this board. We dealt with a concept called bond refunding, and it was a result of pending tax reform legislation. And I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I'm not engaged with bond refunding on a regular basis in my career, my personal life. And it has significant dollar implications for this district. And we basically made that decision on about 30 minutes of discussion as a board in a work session. And I'd like for Dr. Hedrick to remind the group about what fiscal impact that particular decision had as best she can to date.
Thank you. Yes, we did ask the board to consider the refunding. We had 2 issues that were eligible to be refunded, and we felt like if this federal legislation passes as it is, we would lose an opportunity to save our taxpayers a pretty significant amount of money. And so you did approve that with a parameters resolution in addition, which is also a little bit more of a complicated process in terms of you're really approving something that you really don't know how it's going to end up, basically. So you did approve that parameters resolution outlining and giving George K. Baum authority to sell bonds to complete the refunding, which they did some pre-marketing. We went into the market on Monday. The market was very favorable for the district. We were able to, and you'll be getting this information tomorrow in an update, but you'll be getting that they were able to sell the bonds on Monday at a rate for the next 18 years of just under 3%, and saving the district in interest about $2.9 million. And that's kind of at the low end. There may be some other savings depending on how this federal legislation affects some interest that is currently being received by the district on those 2010 bonds. So we were very pleased with that result and really very appreciative of your willingness to approve that, because that was something that we did not become aware of even for your consideration until about mid-November, when a lot more activity started at the federal level about that federal tax reform. And even though at that time there were some differences between the House and Senate version of that bill, we felt after legal counsel review and consultation with our financial advisor, that really we were putting the district in the best position in terms of being able to save our taxpayers money over the long term. And not affect our ability to continue to bond out in the future when those needs arise. So it was a very good decision at that point in time.
Thank you, Dr. Hedrick. Appreciate that. And she has been hasn't mentioned that we also have a very favorable bond rating that we just received from Standard & Poor's.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We also did receive a bond rating, a AA+ on this issue, which is the bond rating we had in the past. I was a little disappointed, frankly. We didn't get the AAA rating, but the factors that affected that rating, that impacted the district, were things we can't control. Our median income, household income, and the other one is our average home price. In fact, I was told that our average home price in the district, while it's right under $200,000, it's $100,000 less than it would be in a AAA school rated institution. So that's a lot of variance for us there. And I will say that the rating report, which you all also be shared with you tomorrow, did the rating Standard & Poor's, when they took it to their ratings committee, did indicate that we had a very positive financial picture in the district, and that really our continuation of our AA+ rating was due to our long-range financial planning and our conservative budgeting practices.
Thank you. I think that's important to note here tonight, again, looking at the larger context of this particular item having a fiscal impact. And so I want to just say a few things. I want to remind everybody here that this board and our leadership team has given us the ability this year to approve the bond refunding, which now this is a non-accounting majors calculation here, but that pencils out on my calculator to $161,000 a year over 18 years. We have reduced fees. We have held the line on property taxes. And we've been very fortunate to have a valuation increase that I think was on the order of magnitude of north of 6%, 6.5%. So that gives us a robust funding stream plus a demonstration to all of our stakeholders that we watch every dollar carefully as a board. And I'm hopeful going forward that as we work around goal number 3, which is building trust with our community, but one of the words that were in goal number 3 was a constructive conversation. And I remember amending that particular goal as constructive. While we have received lots of comments, pro and con, not all of them are constructive. And an opinion, again, I respect people's opinions, but I really like data and fact-driven opinions. And I want to encourage people to come forward with that as we consider this particular program. That's why I asked about the data, Drs. Collier and Sharp, about the students. I mean, these are the people for whom the track is being considered. What is their level of engagement or interest? And when I saw that data yesterday, it blew me away. But it shouldn't, because last night I stopped at a local business that was being run by one of our students. And I asked, do you go to school here? And the answer was yes. I won't say which high school, but the person is a senior. And I said, so what are you going to do next year? Well, I don't know. I might go to community college out of state. But I think that's going to cost a lot of money. And then I'd like to go to school to get my 4-year degree out of state. And I joked around, forgive me, Pima County Community College, Arizona, it's warm there, sorry. But, if you're going somewhere, you might want to think about weather. It's December here after all. And I said, I really wish that you weren't a senior, because I think we have something that might have been of interest to you. And so I really loved hearing the data yesterday. And I'm guessing with the level of response we had, it may be greater than what we know at this moment. This decision has also raised questions in the community about our budget and our priorities. And I shared with the group last night that the budget we shape is reflective of the priorities that this district has. And I'm hopeful, this will be our first budgeting period for 3 of us up here, but I have stated unequivocally that next year's budget, we will welcome constructive input. And I've already mentioned, I would like for us to be outwardly engaged. We probably need to do some more surveying of parents and our students and the classroom needs that the teachers have. And make sure that those interests are gauged before we get to the board meeting where we approve the budget in totality. I really feel strongly that this particular track we gave this mission to the senior leadership team in June. That was goal number 1. And I'm also admiring the fact that goal number 2 is right there with it. I mean, you guys are moving right along, and we're not engaged in the day-to-day on that. So when I think about what we've charged the leadership team with and the information, I mean, they have done incredible work responding to every question, many of them reflective of the questions posed by the citizens of this district, whether you be the parents or the teachers or the taxpayers. You know, I was incredibly impressed to hear that we had offers yesterday at the Business Roundtable to make charitable gifts to fund our free and reduced lunch students who need this program. And so I guess I want to end my thoughts with not my full personal story that those who were at the work session yesterday got to hear with some amusement. I'm a first-generation college graduate, and I'm really proud of it. And Dr. Ambrose raised yesterday about the value of the college degree. Now, again, that's why I asked about Herndon. Not everybody needs a college degree, and in my work, not everybody does. But when you do have that opportunity, the difference in lifetime earnings is $2.3 million for that person over the high school degree. And it seems like to me that getting 100 successful kids through this program that would come back to Lee Summit, and I think 6 of the 7 of us board members are Lee Summit alums, and we all have at least 1 degree, there's, $14 million lifetime that we've brought back to the district. If we get 100 kids to do that, that's $230 million. That's the equivalent of 1 year of our annual revenue side of our budget. And I think that would be great. What if it were 1,000? What if it were 5,000? Adam would have to do that math for me. We have to be agile for these kids. I listened to a futurist on Tuesday morning who shocked me with just the notion. 3rd graders today are going to be in the workforce in 10 years. We don't have a lot of time to wait. And Mr. Gates also had another great quote. We always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. Don't let yourself be lulled into inaction. I'm comfortable with this. We have to sometimes do things that are not comfortable to everyone, but I think in the end we will find that this is going to be an important addition to the academic offerings of our students at LSR7 to make each student a success in life. And with that, I will conclude my remarks.
Thank you, Jackie. I would say briefly, our duty is to our students first. That's why we're here. And for me, that's paramount. And also for me, having built most of my career around working with those students who didn't really have the opportunities that they should have had. Some by their own choice, others by circumstance, and trying to build over a career programming that spoke to those students, I can't sit by idly and let an opportunity like this pass. I also have absolute confidence in our staff that they will be able to figure out how to implement this program between now and next September and put in place the factors that need to be there and the features that need to be there to first ensure that the right students enroll in these programs, that they are motivated, and that they have the supports that they need to be successful. I don't think for a minute that the community college is just sitting there waiting for a bunch of kids to show up, pay $51, flunk them out, and then send them on their way. I really don't think that's what they're about. And I don't think that that's the case at UCM. I think that those institutions are interested in students finishing and walking away with something productive that they can take into the marketplace and sell. That's what they're about. And I will tell you that I think in my experience that's rare at the university level to see that kind of concern and that kind of dedication to students. We need to be the same. We need to have the same level of dedication to our students. We need to, and I love Dr. Carpenter's illustration, we have an opportunity, and for those of you who have never seen this, this won't make any sense, but we need to put the third box up there. Dr. Nooks and his group have put the second box there. So now we have two kids that can see over the fence. We need to put the third. And that's what our responsibility is. And we then will monitor that to make sure that it's done in the way that we know it will be. But that's our responsibility.
I just want to add that today I ran into a very prominent business person who said to me that watching this unopened and the collaboration that has existed between R7 and UCM, which I'm a grad of, and MCC Longview is a beautiful collaboration. And I really wanted to say that. This is a prominent business owner in this community saying it's a beautiful collaboration for our kids.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Okay, for all of those who are in favor of the motion, I want you to hold your hand up, please. All who oppose, same sign. The motion carries. 10.04 is our next motion.
Yes, sir. Thank you, board members. And we'll move into item 10.04. And 10.04 is the second part of the innovation track recommendations, and it has to do with access. I've done a lot of reading and I've done a lot of looking and learning as I've entered the community. And I've been really trying to find out, how does Lee Summit really take the next step, a high-performing suburban district for many kids, but how do we become that suburban district that becomes the model for our country? We have quality programs. The research says you have to have them. The research says you have to have quantity of programs. Put another way, multiple on-ramps and opportunities for kids. But the third piece, I believe, provides us with an opportunity, and that's providing access for all students to attain those quality programs that are significant in number. And so item 10.04, in this item, the superintendent recommends the approval to fund the participation of LSR7 free and reduced lunch students in innovation track and all other dual credit courses and IB courses and examinations in our district. This recommendation will be funded with existing budget resources to allow equitable access for underrepresented students in these programs. This recommendation is pretty wordy, but it's pretty important, because when we look at our current dual credit opportunities and when we look at our current IB students who go on to test and the like and receive that post-secondary credit, we see a clear gap between the percentage of our students who are free and reduced lunch and the small percentage that participates in those opportunities. If we remove that barrier with innovation track, I also believe it to be appropriate to remove that barrier with existing dual credit and our IB courses and examinations. That's the recommendation, Mr. President and board members.
We'll entertain a motion, please.
I move to fund the costs for participation in the innovation track, all dual credit courses and international baccalaureate courses examinations for all LSR7 free and reduced lunch students.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Kim?
I just wanted to make a brief statement. As Jackie pointed out earlier, I'd like to see us establish a scholarship fund in the district to pay the tuition payments for those students who have a financial need. I think it's important. Members of our business roundtable indicated that they would be willing to contribute, and I really do think we should pursue other funding sources so that that tuition and the book payments not come from our district budget. We have many other needs throughout our district that require our attention, and I mentioned some of those last night at our work session, and I think Jackie mentioned we need to have that conversation here in the future. And I just want to make sure that we give equal attention to each of those needs that we know they're existing out there. Thank you.
Jackie?
I think it would be helpful, again, at this juncture, to just give a little bit of an overview of the dollars that we're talking about here. Again, if somebody isn't able to go and pull up board docs, I don't know who wants to take that question and the costs associated with this item. Thank you, Dr. Sharp.
Thank you. Specifically, when we're looking at these two entities here between dual credit and the IB program, I'll start with the dual credit that we have. Historically, tracking the data there, what we're looking at is right now, if you assume that we have 2,842 students that are in our 2017-18 class that are sophomores and juniors, 438 of those students, or 15.4% of those students, would qualify for our free and reduced lunch program. If you base that assumes 6 credit hours per student. If we work through that based on dual credit enrollment patterns that we look at now, right now, as of last year, we had roughly 2,502 seats. Of those 2,502 seats, our students, multiples, have earned about 7,700 hours of that credit. And if you take that and take a look at that, we work across to that, and that'll give us an average. So specifically, our credit hours average cost there, MCC, UCM, and UMKC, what we're trying to do is take an average of those three, which is what our students have for dual credit now. You take an average of those three per 6 credit hours, then you get to $200,595 there.
Okay. I just thought that would be helpful to share with everybody.
I'm on the IB exams. For the IB exams, as we work throughout that down there, right now there are 1,009 students that are currently taking one or more IB courses in our school district. Of those, 7% or 71 students are free and reduced lunch. So if we take a look at an average of 2 exams for those students, across that 2 exams for those 71 students, assuming all 71 took the program, would be $28,700.
The only thing that I would add for the benefit of our board members and the benefit of our audience, I want to paint a picture as it relates to existing dual credit in our schools. There are students sitting in a classroom. Let's say we have a class of 25 students, and there's a dual credit offering. And these 25 students are taking this course. They're all getting the same content. They're all getting the same teaching. And at some point during that course, whether it be beginning, middle, or end, the teacher says, here's the form, and whatever that process is, go online, pay to college, and that's how you go about moving toward the dual credit. So kids are taking that form, and they're going to get a credit based on their ability to get that done. There's a child sitting in that classroom who performed just as well, completed the course, but can't take the form. And that's the kind of inequity that I believe we remove with this type of a recommendation.
Kim?
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. On the first proposal, when we were suggesting that we have a limit of 200 students and we pay for all of the students, and then we also add in the costs of the dual credit and the IB, that original proposal was $650,000, somewhere around in there. was the, somewhere around there. The second proposal, what's the grand total that we're looking at? Is it 396,000 something? Okay. Okay. So in between where we started on November 29th and where we ended up last night with that session where we adjusted this to just fund then the free and reduced credit students, I got feedback on the other end too from actually with some parents who are struggling, who are not free and reduced lunch. Some of them are dual credit, or not dual credit, but like dual educator families in our district, and they can't afford to purchase the credit for their students because they just don't have the expendable income to be able to do that. So I feel for those folks too, that, you know, they wouldn't be able to afford it. And so we're saying, okay, you guys can pay. And I appreciate, believe me, I appreciate MCC Longview reaching out for the 5150. If your board gets that approved, that's awesome, because that's going to enable a reduced rate for those folks. But some folks can't even do that. That's why I'm suggesting that we really do try to get a scholarship fund together, that it would be a very simple thing like, here, sign this, you know, not a big justification. For the free and reduced lunch kids, that'd be easy. The form could be printed, here, just take this home and have your grandma sign it, you know. Other than that, the other students may have to justify a little bit more on their form, but I think we need to be sensitive to that issue too on the funding.
Mr. President, I think we addressed that particular challenge of if you're not free and reduced lunch, but you have a financial need. There was, I think, a legal barrier to us collecting financial data that's different than when you go to a college and you fill out the financial aid forms. But some sort of a scholarship track, you know, excuse me, I shouldn't say it, a scholarship opportunity independent of this funding proposal is not a prohibitive notion at this point.
Right. It's not prohibited.
And I do believe that there are plenty of opportunities out there for us to engage in that discussion. I would guess not only from our end, but from Metropolitan Community College's end, from UCM's end, both along with us. We all have foundations. Those foundations are very interested in making sure that our students are successful. And this group of students, and believe me, I probably understand as well as anyone, folks in that group. I have two children, a child and his wife, who are educators. They have two children. One of them's a junior in high school. And it's tough. It's tough for them. But, you know, if they have an opportunity to do something like this, we'll find a way to help them take advantage of it, or perhaps there will be some scholarship opportunities for them and for others. I think that goes without saying, that we will want to do that as a part of this as it rolls out. But that would be inappropriate of us to put that into the original financing package, because we don't have the means to do that within the scope of what's legal for us to do. But yes, that would be something we would certainly want to consider. Other comments on this motion? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we are ready for the personnel report.
Dr. Miller.
Absolutely. This time I would entertain any questions, then I do have a recognition toward the end. Thank you.
Any questions for Dr. Miller? Let's get a motion on the table, please.
I move to approve the personnel transactions as presented and contracts issued.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. For the record, Linda, I will be abstaining from this vote. Okay, any questions or comments for Dr. Miller? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And for the recognition, I just want to recognize that Janice Phelan who was hired into our district on February the 16th of 1988. You just voted to receive her retirement as Executive Director of Communication as of June 30th, 2018. She's been and continues to be, because she's not done working yet, a wonderful, wonderful member of our family. Thank you.
I would like to say that that's the reason that I abstained from that vote, because I didn't want to have to vote for Janice's retirement. But unfortunately, that wouldn't be true. Jackie?
I, as a professional communicator who has watched Janice in the career that she's had since I came home in 1989, people do not even begin to understand what the Chief Communications Officer does. It is about the only time off you get is when you're asleep, and sometimes you're awakened. And yeah, except for snow days, but I think you anticipate those and keep probably close watch at the weather, and the communicators there at the happy times and the recognitions, and at the sad times and the hard times, and they have a very, very difficult job, and she has comported herself very well on behalf of the district, and this is an important retirement to acknowledge. So thank you for your service to the district, Janice.
Kim?
I just wanted to say that Janice is probably the most recognized name in the whole school district. She is the most popular person because it's her voice that everyone hears on a snow day. So kids know her name, parents know her name. We'll miss you, Janice.
Julie?
I have to say two things about Janice, because the only reason Janice is in Lee Summit is because my dad hired her at the Lee Summit Journal back in '84. But anyway, and it's really funny when my husband makes me, and he does make me, take softball flyers into Lee Summit West district, if you will. And all I have to do is say, I have Janice Phelan approved flyers, and I'm walking right on in the door. So it's kind of funny. But I appreciate everything you do.
I just want to add that I met Janice when I was teaching at Lee Summit High School. She was reporting for the Lee Summit Journal, and I remember her coming over and taking pictures of the musicals and the plays that I produced at that time. And so that's where that relationship began, and I have the utmost respect for her as well.
Janice, we go back a long ways, back to the Lee Summit Journal days. You are a jewel and a real spokesperson from our district. You still got 6 more months to go.
Okay, the next portion of our agenda are written reports. Since we do not have any presentations this time, there are 2 written reports, one for Library Media Services, their annual evaluation report, and the other is the Facilities and Maintenance Project update. Julie, you have a question or comment?
Of course, I have to put Laura Maxwell, which I just like to call her Maxwell, on the spot. And tell us how many librarians we're kind of lacking in the district. I just kind of want to get that out in the open. Come on. It's like the price is right. Come on down. And she's sick, so what a great friend I am.
I'm sorry, Julie, maybe clarify your question.
Well, I just want to know how many libraries we have that we don't have actual librarian that's full-time.
Okay, so each of our elementary schools has a 0.5 library media specialist, so that means with 18 elementaries, we actually have 19 elementary libraries because Prairie View was built at such a time that it has a north and a south. So there is a library media specialist who spends 0.5 FTE for each elementary.
Okay. All right. I just kind of want to get us thinking about that. So, all right. Thank you.
Kim?
Julie kind of stole my thunder. I think she got that idea from me last night at the meeting. Did you? Okay, no. I just wanted to say the Library Media Services Annual Evaluation Report was excellent. It's truly impressive that our media specialists and librarians serve so many vital roles in each of our schools. They are partnering with our teachers to provide valuable teaching and learning experiences for our students, and I've seen that in action in several of our schools. And my only wish, I put it in my notes here, is that each individual school could have its own library media specialist dedicated to enhancing the learning for each of the students, and in only one school. And we have several that have to travel. That was a result of cost containment, I think, in 2008, and we never have gotten it back. And I think it's time for us to think about bringing them back. Thank you very much. Laura.
Jackie?
Share that with them.
Well, I would be remiss as the sister of someone with the Mid-Continent Public Libraries who does story time to say that I think the partnership that you all have with Mid-Continent is a very, very important partnership. I can remember the days when we would go in with 10 books at a time, coming in and out of the library and getting stars. So this is such an important thing for our students to be able to maintain and enhance their reading skills during summertime in particular in that program. So thank you all for your collaboration there.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or comments on the written reports? Thank you, Laura. Okay, our roundtable discussion, we're going to start down there with Kim. We'll start on your end.
Okay, I just wanted to report that during the past month, I have visited Cedar Creek Elementary, Lee Summit North High School, Westview Elementary, and Hazel Grove Elementary. I'd like to thank each of their terrific administrators for their hospitality on each of my visits. I learned so much about our schools when I speak to each of these principals and have a chance to tour their schools, because each school truly has its own personality, its own highlights, and it's just fun being in the schools. The other thing I'd just like to mention is Nutrition Services did have their holiday tasting party today, of which I, of course, took part in, and they offered several dishes made with Missouri products. So they're trying to stay in Missouri. They're really quite tasty. And the gift bags that I handed out to each of the board members tonight are courtesy of our Nutrition Services crew. So they wanted you to have that.
Adam?
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Julie?
Ditto on that. Exciting times coming up. I live down Pryor Road, and I see this new sign going up. It's called Whispering Woods, I think. And so I'm Googling it because I just like to. And it is right next door to Hawthorne Hill. And there's 150 new lots going in. So I really, you know, if we can get with our demographer, maybe we have, but I would like to know. I hope that we have, if we've learned one thing from this month, is that the board members want to know what's going on. So if we can just keep that thought going, and by all means, move on down that road, if you all know, but I'm concerned about Hawthorne Hill and West and Summit Point, and so that's all I have. Thanks. Merry Christmas.
Phyllis?
Last Saturday, the Lee Summit Symphony Orchestra gave 2 outstanding concerts. I have the privilege of serving on the board, and also had some students perform in that event as well. It's a treasure. What you saw tonight in our traveling strings, we are blessed in this district. I was telling Dr. Carpenter earlier that we truly do have the finest music program in the state, if not the country. And many of those students that graduate come back and perform in the Lee Summit Symphony Orchestra. So my daughter had her ribbon cutting for her new dance business. It's called Kansas City Dance Company. I retired after 28 years and turned that over to my daughter, who has more than enough experience to educate the future of our dancers in this community, and had a really nice ribbon cutting. Julie serves as her mentor, and I felt like I know she's saying a prayer over there. she's in good hands, and she did join the Chamber of Commerce. And I want to tell you how much I respect all of our board members and all of our staff. I always enjoy a good debate, and I always enjoy good feedback from people. And at the end of the day, I just want you all to know that I truly do respect and value your opinions. And have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And it's great to see our guests here tonight, too.
Dennis?
I'd like to just write off what you just finished. I feel we have a great group of people up here trying to work through and solve problems. And some of us have had the opportunity over the years to see several boards, and we've always had very good boards. But it's nice. You can't always agree on everything, and I think that's healthy. It brings other things for you to think. I also just had the opportunity to be out and about a little bit to some of the DARE graduations. I kind of forgot. I knew when I first came on the board we had those in the spring, but forgot we have them in the fall because they're semester. But it's a real delight to go to those different buildings and see those kiddos and their performance. Most of them get up and do a little singing thing. So, Dr. Carpenter, this is a note passed to me. Dr. Carpenter will be performing at the Rotary Club next Thursday, singing. I'm not sure what. I don't know. I just got this note from Phyllis, so this is not Dr. Carpenter. This is not from me. It's from you. I just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Jackie?
All right, I stand between everyone and adjournment, but I want to highlight the opportunities I've had this month in engaging in our schools. I was absolutely delighted to be in the Meadow Lane Elementary School gymnasium to witness the 5th and 6th grade bands perform, along with the 3rd grade choir. And I believe that building was filled with people who want to see their students be a success. And again, those 3rd graders 10 years from now are going to be in the workforce and hopefully, very successful Lee Summit R7 student alums at that point. I've also had the opportunity to attend the pancake breakfast with Santa over at Richardson Elementary and visit with the families there and be introduced to the rest of the Carpenter family. And I was even invited to join them for breakfast, so I must not have scared anybody. I had a visit with Santa. I will not describe any of my list. And it will probably go unfulfilled anyway. But finally, I was at Cedar Creek Elementary, and I have a nephew there who was a finalist in the spelling bee competition. So I was there to cheer him on. And while he didn't win, it was a lively contest to the very end. So I want to congratulate all those students for their engagement and the PTA at Richardson. They had a great event, and that place was filled to the brim. So for our folks in the audience here and watching, Happy Hanukkah, Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas.
Dr. Carpenter?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I do want to expand upon thanking everyone for their work and wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season. If you'll notice out front, there are 7 poinsettias, and there are also 7 school board members. So on your way out, please accept that as a token of our appreciation as a leadership team for all that you do. And maybe when you sit around the fire during the holiday season, you'll take a look at that poinsettia and think about the work that you do for boys and girls here in the district. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you, Dr. Carpenter. I, too, had the privilege of being in several buildings this past month at Pleasant Lee Elementary to see the 3rd grade choir, actually the 3rd graders, perform, which is a sneaky way to get a board member to a PTA meeting. But it was really cool to watch. They were so excited and so incredibly cute. It wasn't even funny. Also been at maintenance. Kyle and I had a great visit. I wandered around the shops and tried to keep from getting hit by anything. And we had a great visit out there. I was able to go over to Lee Summit West at Longview Farms. And today I spent some time at Early Childhood, which if you have not been in early childhood, that is an absolute must. There are several musts in this district. That's one of them. Another one is Hilltop. You need to go there. If you have not been there, you need to go. And you need to find out what they do there, because you will not believe the circumstances that those folks face every day. If you're a regular classroom teacher, you need to go out there and see what the other half of the world looks like. So I'll be at Lee Summit North tomorrow. So I'm really excited about getting out to those school buildings. It's always a treat to be in the buildings and talk to teachers and see the kids. And I got to see a McDonald's play day today. It was the most awesome thing I've ever seen with 4-year-olds. And I even almost ate some of the French fries, which, by the way, were plastic. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, folks.